I hope everyone's doing well and welcome back to another Outlook. I've literally just landed back from Portugal. I was there for all of last week for a holiday. I just come back a few hours ago back to make sure I come home on time and get the weekly Outlook out now. Especially this weekly Outlook. Last week was a bit slow for us. We didn't position ourselves, and the big reason for that is, right, if I go on a monthly, what we saw last month was a monthly sweep, a big move up, and we sort of traded into a premium on the weekly. But from here, especially after some of the displacement that took place, I would say last week, especially on the daily chart, very big move up, and sort of disrespect to the weekly fair value gap, we had to consider, monthly sweep, big displacement. Is this a sort of higher time frame reversal, right? Are we going to trade higher? Are we going to, now push for a sort of monthly OTE before we continue? Or, as our plan was, let it hit this premium. If it moves away, we align with the swing. Now, I said this earlier as well, right? This is a weekly time frame. I did not want to take a weekly OTE anyways. What I wanted to see was very much something like this. We said this last week. We want to see it tap in, move away, give us that confirmation. And now, the way that week is closed, if we are going to be bearish, I'd be pretty confident that the previous weekly high does not go. So the range, or sort of where I'm looking for my entry, will be building off of this current high that's been made to wherever the new low is made. If we can get some sort of premium on this, or potentially even just a good daily close, we can just work off of that, right? We're looking to position for dollar sells. It doesn't necessarily, need to be the OT here, but we'll take a look at some pairs in a second. Now, one big thing that's sort of very confluential with this and makes me very confident that we are probably headed low is this massive close on the bond yields. Very, very strong close. I would say it's very likely, again, this isn't just a wick. We're going to hunt sell side from here. I'd say we're coming from this pretty soon, and for this very, very soon as well. And most likely we've sort of consolidated in that premium for a little while. We've sort of made that consolidation tighter and tighter, as you guys can see. If we go like this and like this, and we finally sort of had a breakout after all that liquidity engineering. So I would say the odds are that we continue to hunt sell side for at least the foreseeable future, if not, even deeper, or very deep into this discount potentially, because we've been sitting around the equilibrium and premium for a little while. If we come over to EURUSD, very, very, sort of, what's it, is a bit of an awkward close, very strong move down, and then immediately very strong move up. If we go off of that weekly close, we've got a massive wick to work with. If you guys recall, this is a target we've had in place for a while. I did expect that, this week would already hit it, especially based off last week's close. But, instead we got quite a large retracement, swept some internal liquidity, and now move higher. So at the moment, we will remain higher for the euro, and the pound will be getting weaker. Therefore, we will be looking for EU longs if they're offered to us. We'll take a look in a second. Before we get onto the sort of majors and the actual setups that we're looking for, last week we had quite a bit of news. We had FOMC, we had NFP, we had other news events in between, Bank of Japan, etc. That's what caused a very, very strong move in the markets on sort of DXY, right? It gave us a lot to work with. If we come down to in the monthly time frame, I would say the odds are that the high of the month is probably in, right? We've swept the previous monthly high, it's in a premium, and we've had a decent strong move away following all these major news events. So I'd like to think the narrative here is continued sells for the dollar as we expected, right? We just have to be a little bit patient and get that confirmation. We'll start off with EURUSD. We want longs. You guys can see very similar to the DXY. There's actually a bit of SMT. DXY retraced deeper, went past the 0.62. But we've had a big move away. Again, 4-hour range to work with. Wherever we place that high to low, if we can get a discount entry on this, if we can get a very good daily close, we can work off of that and aim for those highs over there. Good. Now, you guys recall what we were saying about this weekly time frame. It's hard to hit the OTE. If we can move into that premium, we touch this fair value gap, we've moved away, we've swept all that internal liquidity. It's clearly, to me, this is a basic, it's an AMD, right? I would assume, again, very similar to DXY, previous weekly high does not go. This is the manipulation phase, and this to me looks like a low resistance liquidity run that's just pending, right? So same thing, 4-hour range, work off of that. Even if the 4-hour range, right, if it doesn't give you the premium to go ahead and short it, that's perfectly fine. All you have to do, imagine now the next day, you know, starts trading up anywhere here, you assume the high the day's in, you can just hit it. Might not be a premium entry, your stop loss can still go here, but your target's all the way down here. So your RR is still positive, right? You can still hit that, especially, you know, when we're very, very confident in the narrative, when we're confident in the time of month, time of day, etc. Essentially, like, you know, there's a lot of ways to go about it. It's not always just, oh, just wait for the OT. If it comes, then we'll hit. If it doesn't, USDJPY I don't like as much, right? Of course, there's, again, a clear case of SMT. It's traded a lot higher, meaning it's showing resistance, right? It doesn't want to drop, and it just doesn't look anywhere near as clean as UCAD. So UCAD is where I have my eyes at the moment. And one more that we can look for, that we mentioned last week as well. Very, very nice. Again, very similar to UCAD. Accumulation, manipulation, we're in that distribution phase. Simple. I don't expect that previous weekly high to go. Use this as an anchor. If you trade in any sort of proximity towards that, we can look to take positions and short towards these lows. And potentially, I believe, I thought so. The only low left is to push for all-time low. And I think, you know, if price gives a kick below this current low, then that the likelihood is that's where we're heading next, right? Really, really, especially off of this close from that weekly order block, that premium, I don't expect this previous weekly high to go. Right, that's the three majors covered. I've seen a lot of war news just suddenly pop up. I'll be honest, I've not been too sort of tapped in this week with what's going on economically and whatnot. Right, I've been a bit busy, but I've seen a lot of war news recently. I've seen China, Taiwan, I've seen America, Russia. You know, a lot of the time it's just fear mongering. It's not anything important. If it was important, this price would already be up there. But it may mean that, you know, they're sort of building in that, you know, they're sort of building up that liquidity, getting people to, you know, get involved in these markets, right, back in the gold market and whatnot, to engineer that liquidity, and then potentially a move could be on the horizon. It's just something to bear in mind. But as you guys can see in front of us right now, there's nothing to work off of. I know we swept some liquidity, we've got a bit of displacement here, but I'm not interested in longing, right? I think it's just, if it does sort of move higher, it's a fake out. I'm not expecting a break higher. It's not really a chart I'm looking to interact with at the moment. S&P and S. What we can change is what the range play is. You guys can already see we have it marked out weekly fair value gap. Expecting higher prices on this, we're expecting a bearish dollar. The stance is risk on at the moment, right? Everyone's leaning towards rate cuts, so therefore we expect a higher S&P. But where we are, we're quite extended. We have a nice fair value gap here, which is untouched. It meets the previous swing. So I'd like to see price trade towards this, and then from there look for that move higher from an IO Fed. Very similar on Bitcoin. Just a simple OTE here, really. Even a bit cleaner than S&P. But we've had that sort of AMD accumulation. We're in that manipulation phase. We want distribution. Any clear signs of a reversal, even potentially a good weekly close, we're happy with that. It's something you can work off of if you like to swing Bitcoin. Of course, I always mention it to you guys. I don't personally, you know, swing or intraday trade it, but I do cover it. Just like looking at the crypto market in general. But I think here there's a room to potentially go lower. Maybe next week could sweep the previous weekly low, especially if we expect S&P to come a little bit lower as well. But overall, again, similar to S&P, we expect higher prices for now, for the time being. And what does that leave us with? That's pretty much it, right? The main pairs that we're looking at for a move, we expect EURUSD to continue being bullish. We might look for something on the 4-hour here. And on UCAD, we are looking for any shorts that we can get offered off of this area from this premium. And lastly, USDCHF, Swiss franc. These are the three pairs on the radar. Any of them give the entry, we can consider it. Maybe all three of them will, and you'll have to grade which one seems better at the time, but we'll see when it comes to that. But yeah, guys, that is it for the weekly outlook. As usual, any questions at all, anything I can help with, please just drop me a message.